I think Steve Bannon and Elon Musk both gave Nazi salutes. I've watched the tape a bunch of times. This is an individual who's decided there's a white genocide against Africana farmers. I think he knew what he was doing, and I think the two of you are more impressed with Mr. Musk than I am. I think if somebody is making Nazi salutes, if somebody is being sued concurrently by two women for sole custody of their child because that person has not spent any time with that child, when someone is so severely addicted to drugs, they can't get their shit together to show up to the White House without looking exceptionally high.
And he's very awkward socially. But look at what that man has achieved, and he's only 50% through being the modern day Da Vinci, if you want to call him that, whether that be SpaceX or Starlink or Tesla or anything he's touched. He's the most remarkable individual. And I used to say, we get into Trump derangement, I shut off, and it's just a waste of time. And I think that's a waste of time criticizing, that he's not a man. I mean, I just...
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this Piers Morgan segment. This was just amazing to see Mr. Wonderful Idiot over here just get embarrassed over and over. And all he does is insult because he just doesn't have any valid arguments. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it.
Let me ask a question from 30,000 feet. If you look at the controversy, and there's no question Elon Musk is a very controversial individual. There is just no question about that. But then you set that aside and say, can we look at the track record of executional skills on mandate he is elected to take on, whether that be SpaceX or Starlink or Tesla or anything he's touched? He's the most remarkable individual. And I used to say this about Steve Jobs, who I worked for, that he was 80% signal and 20% noise. In other words, in any given day, as Jobs used to tell me, I'm going to get the 5 things I have to get done, and I will not let noise get in the way in this 18-hour cycle, and you should follow me and do the same. And that worked for him. Look at what he achieved. Then you look at Elon Musk, and I'd argue to anybody listening, Elon is the only individual that I've ever met that's 100% signal. He does not even deal with noise. I've watched him walk away, and I've used this example countless times because I've seen it. He'll walk away from a conversation the second he thinks it's a waste of his time, he's not garnering any information that's useful.
Hey, Mr. Wonderful Idiot, he walked away because he's on drugs. He's probably out of it. He could be fiending for all we know.
And he's very awkward socially. But look at what that man has achieved, and he's only 50% through being the modern day Da Vinci, if you want to call him that. There's nobody on earth that's achieved as much as he has. And of course, that's going to draw criticism, whether it comes from a rock star that wants to be a politician. I love U2 music, but I don't listen at all to Bono's politics. I don't think he spends a lot of time worrying about it until he's talking on air. I'd rather he write music that I can enjoy. I'd rather listen to what Musk has to say in terms of moving forward on these mandates that solve huge problems for mankind. Where would the Ukrainian soldiers be without Starlink?
Yeah.
Where would people be without Teslas that provide incredible value for the dollar in the low-cost versions? Or what about SpaceX? Will we get to Mars? Well, if we are, it's going to be because of Elon Musk.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
We have other electric car companies doing it way better than Tesla that's not doing Nazi salutes. So cut the crap. And I just want to say something about these MAGA pundits, these Republicans, always talking about alpha. They say they're against gay people, but are you sure about that, Republicans, conservatives out there? Because I don't know, the way you guys talk about other men is just so effing odd to me, assuming you're straight. Every time I hear it, it's just weird. And Mr. Wonderful Idiot over here, he's just so badly wants to be a billionaire. That's why he's very careful about not critiquing Trump and Elon. He knows he has to keep in their good graces. He knows this is the game to play right now. This is the only reason that he's crying, that somebody could possibly critique him. He was talking about Bono because Bono said essentially that Elon, because of the USA ID cuts, killed hundreds of thousands of people, which studies have shown, yeah. And Kevin O'Leary, he knows that if he were to dare to critique either Elon or Trump, that would put him on the outside, and he couldn't possibly profit from any inside information that can be gained. These people are supposed to be so good at business, but need to cheat the system, need to get tax cuts in order to get ahead. But they're so great at business, right? Trust me, I come from a finance and a business background. These guys ain't that good. I truly believe this is what it's all about with these billionaires. It's not a shocking revelation. It's just all about the Benjamins. They don't care about MAGA or anyone but their pockets, and don't care who gets hurt in the process. Elon Musk is already backing off on the things he said about Trump being essentially a child predator, which we all knew was true. This guy is the most vile, disgusting person. And I wonder why Elon Musk is backing off now. Could it be a money thing? But Republican voters are just so easily fooled. And I think segments like this are important to just show how you continually to get fooled by these people and who these people are that you're supporting. It's so easily fooled and refuse to see it. And in my assumption, it's because they like the racism that they see that comes with them, from them. The most two prominent Republicans, Elon Musk, Trump, they happen to be the most famous, most prominent racists in this country, easily. What a surprise.
I was standing with him in the line to meet President Trump and the Emir of Qatar in Doha 2 weeks ago at the state dinner. And it was before Elon asked me what we were all doing lining up. And I said, we're going to meet Donald Trump for a handshake. And he laughed and went, I do that every day. I went, I know. I don't even know why you're standing here. Anyway, he thought it'd be funny to carry on standing there. And when he got to Trump, they both burst out laughing. But notwithstanding that, he was bored and he pulled out his phone and began showing me and a couple of other people just on his phone the Optimus humanoid robots and where they've got to. And they were dancing in this video clip. And it was one of the most extraordinary things I've seen. And he said, you know, these are going to be the biggest thing in the world within 15 years. And everyone's going to have one, or rich people will want 10. And they're going to change the world. And they're going to do every boring thing in the world you could possibly wish them to do. And he had a kind of boyish enthusiasm for this technology. And that made me just look at him and think, why do you need all the aggravation of politics? You know, it's like it's brought him so much aggravation. And yet, as you said, Kevin, he's a genius, really, in many other ways. I mean, do you accept, Scott, that he's a genius, or do you feel it's smoke and mirrors with Musk? Because when I watched him talk me through his Optimus thing, I just saw the 10-year-old boy who used to write programs doing it on a massive scale and loving that. Whereas I think he's really struggled with the criticism he's had in the political arena.
Piers Morgan is so disingenuous. Right after that Optimus robot, stupid Tesla robot, it was shown that it was controlled, human controlled by a remote. It was remotely controlled. Like, is that a disingenuous, or these people are just complete morons and again fall for anything?
I don't think you can deny his genius. I'll use Starlink on my flight to London in a couple days, and it's a superior product. I owned a Tesla. But somehow we've decided in America that innovation and money replaces or obviates or excuses depravity. Cutting off aid to HIV positive mothers, deciding what veterans should get benefits, cutting off SNAP payments, which have shown to have a positive net return when people run out of money for food at the end of the month. I mean, I think one of the wonderful things about being an American, and quite frankly, for me, what it means to be a man and what I try to teach my boys is the whole point of prosperity is such that you can protect people. And I think the two of you are more impressed with Mr. Musk than I am. I think if somebody is making Nazi salutes, if somebody is being sued concurrently by two women for sole custody of their child because that person has not spent any time with that child, when someone is so severely addicted to drugs they can't get their shit together to show up to the White House without looking exceptionally high, I don't think that's the right role model for young men. So what I would ask to all of us is look at what money has done to us. That if someone can land a rocket on metal scissors or create a great AV, he's a genius. He's the wealthiest man in the world. But does that mean we should excuse depravity? Does that mean, unlike Bill Gates, he's not using his billions to help people? He's not planting trees, the shade of which he won't sit under? I think this is an individual who has literally come off the tracks, who is rabidly addicted to drugs and is using his immense power to get people elected, and that too many of us excuse what is abhorrent behavior. I think his legacy is not going to be an EV or putting rockets into space. I think it's going to be unnecessary death, disease, and disability of the world's most vulnerable. That is not what it means to be an innovator. It's not what it means to be an American. It's not what it means to be a man.
Wow. Kevin.
Kevin is dying inside. And he gave Elon Musk a bone there. Elon is just not a genius. It's all smoke and mirrors. He didn't invent Tesla. This was a company that was already established. Technology was already there before he got there. He did nothing but buy it and try and bury the fact that he didn't start it. SpaceX, is another thing I hear. He is sending rockets to space. He doesn't do that, obviously. He's rich and started a company, hires engineers and programmers, actually skilled people to do that. Elon is playing video games and lying about it and getting into online spats with people. I mean, the guy's tweeting literally all day, just nonsense memes and garbage racist shit. I mean, the man is literally a joke. And these are the people that still are crying to get even a bigger tax cut, more credits, more government contracts. Like, it's unbelievable. And what he said about rich people, it's true. At what cost do you need to amass this kind of wealth? That people have to pass away? That people are starving in the richest country in the world? People are going to lose their Medicaid? Like, do you really need another 20 million, 200 million, 100 million, another 1 million?
What do you say to that?
That's a tough criticism. And that's certainly the kind of controversy that surrounds him and has almost since he came on the scene at the PayPal days. He has distractors. Scott's one of them. I get it. You know, I would have kept that. There's a concept now that I deal with every day called Trump derangement syndrome internationally when I have to work in Abu Dhabi or in Zurich. And I get into a meeting and they want to go into a diatribe about Trump. And I say, this is a useless use of time. I'm not here to debate politics. I'm here to debate policy because we don't make money in politics as investors. We make money with policy. So if we could just use our valuable time together to look at the policy and see if there's an investment opportunity together. But I can't and I don't care to get into debating Trump derangement syndrome. But what you just heard there from Scott is Musk derangement syndrome. And I get it. And I think it's fair that he has those criticisms. But it doesn't distract or take away from the achievements the man has made so far and will make. And I'm an advocate for executional excellence because in the end, if you burn your calories trying to change someone who you know is not going to change and don't focus on the output that he can provide and the great solutions for mankind he has provided and hopefully will with robotics you talked about, then you are in the form of being dominated and controlled by a derangement syndrome. That's my opinion. And I've so far avoided that and I work a lot in Washington now. And you know, I'm very, very fortunate to be able to work on a bipartisan basis because I represent entrepreneurship and job creation for small business, and that's bipartisan. Even AOC and Elizabeth Warren want to support that, and I can have my narratives with them. But when we get into Trump derangement, I shut off, and it's just a waste of time. And I think that's a waste of time criticizing, you know, that he's not a man. I mean, I just find that. And I respect Scott. I mean, I respect his opinion. I respect all opinions, but let's burn our calories moving the needle forward is my view.
I would also add to that, Scott. I think you make some very valid points about USAID, and I really want to see the data on that when it comes in, is to see exactly what the bottom line impact has been. And if it is anywhere near the levels that you and Bono think it's going to be or is being, it's clearly going to be appalling. But I would say on the derangement syndrome aspect of Musk and Trump, they both attract a huge amount of support and plaudits and aggro and so on. You know, you referenced there that he did a Nazi salute. And I don't think you actually think he did a Nazi salute. for a moment? I mean, I'll ask you, but I don't think you do. And the other day, Cory Booker did exactly the same thing on stage, literally almost exactly the same thing. And all the people who had leapt on Elon Musk and said, he's a Nazi, did a Nazi salute, blah, 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 they all said the complete opposite about Cory Booker, simply because he was a Democrat. He was one of their tribe. Therefore, when he did almost exactly the same arm movement on a stage, he was not a Nazi. And I think that's where I would agree with Kevin, that sometimes it's the double standard which lends succor to the concept of derangement syndrome. Do you accept that?
I think derangement, the term derangement, is usually something levied at people when they don't have a cogent argument to counter the arguments I'm making. I would call myself someone who's been infected with democracy addiction syndrome and is allergic to the type of depravity that these individuals are demonstrated. I generally haven't seen Senator Booker's gesture. I think Steve Bannon and Elon Musk both gave Nazi salutes. I've watched the tape a bunch of times. This is an individual who's decided there's a white genocide against Africana farmers. I think he knew what he was doing. It might have been a tick, but he seems to be very disciplined about not making remarks or comments with respect to China. Whenever there's money on the line in a society where he may not have the same rights of free speech, he seems very disciplined. So, yeah, we have a fundamental disagreement. I do believe it was a Nazi salute or a Nazi gesture. I don't see other Republicans accidentally making hand gestures that remind them of the Third Reich.
But Cory Booker did. I mean, you should see it after this. Honestly, you would be amazed how similar the arm movement was and the difference in the way it was treated by.
Well, then it was wrong. I want to give you and Kevin this. If Senator Booker did this, he should be dressed down and say, you should never accidentally, errantly make a gesture that reminds people of the type of death and destruction that we incurred around an ideology that this symbol came to respect. And it just so happens that two guys who have a history of very conservative politics at a very conservative gathering accidentally made this gesture. They should know better. I don't know a lot of people accidentally making gestures that look like Nazi gestures at parent-teachers meetings. Both Senator Booker, I'll take you at your word, and Steve Bannon and Elon Musk should know better. And it gets in the way of, Kevin, what you were saying, his ability to demonstrate greatness. And I'll be honest, like Neuralink, I think what he's doing.
All right, they're going to go off to another segment. Maybe I'll make a video on this next segment. But, of course, if you don't add context, then almost no one should be held accountable for the Nazi salute. Cory Booker stands aggressively opposite against anti-Semitism, racism. Like, it's just such a stupid comparison. Why would you not bring up that, obviously, that the issue with Elon is that he was a guy who supported a Holocaust denying conspiracy. Guys, do you remember he had to apologize and go to Auschwitz, the concentration camps? Like, this is a guy who recently, during the campaign, told the German people to forget and move on from their past of what happened during the Holocaust. Not only that, but this is, again, the party that supports the people who chanted Jews will not replace us, and that Trump called good people on both sides. Like, again, add the context. Even eyeliner Vance, JD Vance, called Trump America's Hitler. Trump, during the campaign, with the constant Nazi rhetoric, poisoning the blood of the nation when referring to immigrants, calling people vermin, like using exact words. Do you see the difference when you add the context about what Elon was doing compared to Cory Booker, which I haven't seen it because obviously it's stupid to think that he would be for something like that. It goes completely against everything he stands for. And then with Elon, afterwards he made jokes about it, didn't apologize or anything. This is why it's an effing joke when you hear these MAGA moron pundits talking about anti-Semitism on the left or on campuses or whatever the hell nonsense you hear from them. Remind them simply, they are the party of Jews will not replace us and tiki torches. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this. Please leave a like, subscribe. Really helps the channel. Really helps the message get out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.